Hello.
Yes.
Konnichiwa, Rangasan, konnichiwa.
Sure. We are on the YouTube live, so.
Yeah.
Okay, Bhopal, please mute everybody other than the speaker all the time.
Uncle-san, good afternoon. Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa, domo.
Vaishnavi-san.
Konnichiwa, sir. Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa, Rangasan. Minasan.
Hi, Anu. Hi. Hi, Anahata.
Rangasan. Hello everyone.
Hello,
everyone.
Nice seeing you guys here. Yeah,
Konnichiwa.
very good.
Konnichiwa, sir.
Why should you be starting, right?
Yes, Rangasan. We have 2
We'll wait
minutes.
for your call.
Can we start?
We'll always wait for your call. Every speaker will wait for your call.
Okay, got it. Okay, we have 1 more minute and then we can start.
Bhopal, is there 1 more minute? Bhopal, timer.
2 more minutes, sir.
2 more minutes. Okay.
2 more minutes, okay. Yes, Rangasan.
Vaishnavi, sir, you can go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So we welcome you for this commemorating the 70th year of Japan-India diplomatic relations. We are organizing a free webinar, and today we are going to be talking about different avenues and opportunities that are open for people with the language capability. So we have varied speakers lined up in different domains and age groups as in experience levels. So we hope this webinar will be useful for you. So thank you all for joining. We will start with a welcome address by our chairman, Mr. M.R. Ranganathan. Rangasan, please.
Good afternoon, konnichiwa, Madiya Vanakkam. It's very nice to see you all here. I started learning Japanese almost in 1969 without knowing why I was studying Japanese. Okay. But over a period of time, I think Japanese has given an opportunity for me to work along with everybody and make sure we open avenues for as many people as possible from Tamil Nadu and India. That's what has happened. In 1974, we started this voluntary organization, ABK AOTS Rusokai, and Japanese language was going in a very slow pace. When I went to the school, we had 1 textbook, 1 teacher, and we had to hand copy it. We started with 45 people, and within a week, we went down to 3 people. For the only 3 who stayed with us. But it gave me a lot of friends, and we could create a lot of opportunity to many. But my life changed because of Japanese, only because of Japanese. I've been a civil engineer all along working in the construction site in a port. Then 1992, I moved on to IT sector without knowing anything about IT. The only qualification I had was to speak Japanese at that time. Otherwise, I'm a pretty well good civil engineer, 26 years. I decided to quit and went home and told my wife I'm leaving my job, giving her a shot. Now, at that time, the government of India, the ministry, Mr. Vittal IAS was the telecom secretary. He created a specialized course in Japanese language for the MCA students. And all the MCA students that was done only in 3 places. And the course was created by AOTS, our Japan office, and our New Delhi office. And the course was done free by the government of India. One in India, one in Chennai, one in Odisha, and one in New Delhi. All the people who studied there, they were all accommodated and taken into jobs. But the Japanese thought our Japanese language capability was not sufficient. So by 1995, India was losing its grip, and then they were moving on to China. And it has taken quite some time for us to get back and into Japan. That we are all able to do and get into the Japanese market only because of the Japanese skills our own people have developed. We are a multilingual people. We can speak at the same time, think and speak number of languages, and Japanese could be only one. That will very much match us because the grammar is very similar, thinking is very similar. There are a lot of cultural similarities. So Japanese really helps. And today, understanding that government of India and government of Japan, prime ministers of both countries have signed an MOU to train teachers in Japanese language, and Japan is in great need of people and got a digital divide. There people are getting older. Fortunately, medical science has been helping that people live longer. And at the same time, and they say many women decided to stay single, and the birth rate is going down. The people living rate is going up. So they have to look at other countries. And China was leading, but over a period of time, we will be the only country capable of giving skills with English knowledge, Japanese knowledge, and the numbers. So today is the right time for our people to learn Japanese, to win, and then get into the market. All along, when you are in college, everybody says, I go west. No, they have to have a look-east policy, move. And today, when we started, we had nothing to do. But today, we have created a huge empire full of facilities. We have great teachers, we got good facilities, and we are not only in Nelson Manikam Road, we are in Tiruvannur, OMR, and then we are in Tambaram, we are in Coimbatore and Bangalore. So we are spread all over the place. We are available for you. The books are available today. They are being printed once upon a time. So everything is very good. So kindly think. There is a need and there is a facility. Only all you have to do is to think and use it. Now, we are today asked 6 people, 3 from the Indian side, 3 from the Japanese side. All are Indians, of course. The 3 from the Japanese side, they have studied. They're all our students, all the 6 of them. And what is that they are doing today? How the life has changed because of Japanese. And how do they find learning and working in Japan? We are going to share their experience, their first-hand knowledge on this area, and kindly listen to them and be benefited. And we are there to help you to learn Japanese. Our teachers are there. We have nearly 50 teachers spread all over the place. We have been having, over a period of time, almost we have taken 1,000 boys and girls to Japan for training, winners of competition, and then internships, and then scholarships, and then for both technology and management. So there are a number of ways we can help you. Please study Japanese. That's the only thing I can say is request you to study Japanese. It will change your life. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Rangasan. It was a great beginning and to start off this program. Before we go forward, I request everybody to mute your speakers also. We are hearing an echo. If any of you are connected from 2 devices, please mute yourself so that we can continue. Yes. So if there is any device where there is speaker output coming, we request you to shut that device so that there is no echo in here. So thank you very much. So now we will move on to the first speaker. So our first speaker is Ms. Anahata Harikumar. So this particular person has studied in Japan and she is now working in a Japanese concern. So how does working in a Japanese concern actually look like, the ground reality? Let's hear it from Anahata-san. Anahata-san, please.
Is my audio okay?
It's fine. It's clear.
Okay. Yes. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for having me here today. It's such a pleasure to be able to talk about my experiences with all of you. A little about me. My name is Anahata, and I grew up in India. I finished my schooling in India, and then I came to Japan for my university. I studied in Japan for 4 years, and then I found a job through on-campus placement. And now I work for a Japanese company, which is a cosmetics manufacturing company, and I do marketing planning for that company. So today, what I wanted to share with all of you was basically starting from how did I come to Japan, because it's not the most popular student destination, most definitely, but it is a student destination with a lot of potential. And I also wanted to talk about how coming to Japan has changed my life and what my life today looks like. So I applied to my university in 2016, and I found my university in a student fair. And during that time, what really drew me to that student fair was because I fortunately come from a family that told me to go study abroad and not just look at the usual UK or US, and to look at other countries with a lot of potential, and countries where there is a need for people like me and all of you. So then I went to that student fair, and I found my university, and my university is in the south of Japan. It's a very small town that has a university with 50% of international students and 50% of Japanese students. So that balance of going to Japan and talking to Japanese people, understanding Japanese culture, but at the same time broadening my horizons with people from other countries and other cultures as well, was something that really drew me to applying to my university and applying to Japan, because Japan is extremely diverse. It's not just a lot of Japanese people. There are so many immigrants from all over the world working here and studying here. So I wanted to experience all different cultures under one umbrella in Japan. And also the level of education in Japan is definitely on par with a lot of Western countries and Western universities. We kind of have the misconception that everything is in Japanese, or we have to learn in Japanese, but it's the perfect balance where you can learn in English, you can study in English at the same time, practice your Japanese, and learn some subjects in Japanese as well. And a very big focus in Japan is all-round development. So there is also a lot of extracurricular activities and extracurricular opportunities that one can do to just supplement their education and supplement their experiences in Japan. And one more thing that I'm sure everybody's interested to know is that Japan offers a lot of scholarships. And so keeping that in mind, I wanted to study in a country where I can apply for scholarship. I can be financially supported by the government because they see a potential in us and they want to help us. So there is a lot of scholarship opportunities, and a lot of universities even help students to cover their tuition fees, and they give them a reduction in that as well. So that was what drew me to Japan. And if overall the cost of studying and the cost of living was definitely something that in Japan you can supplement by yourself. You can do a lot of part-time jobs, you can apply for scholarships. So truly I think Japan is a place where you can be very independent and very self-sufficient because the system here is designed that way. And I feel that is something a lot of people miss when they think about Japan. But Japan is very complete by itself. You have everything you need under one roof, and you can help yourself. You can go to part-time jobs, and you can choose your path the way you want to. So once I decided all of this and I decided to come to Japan, there was of course a lot of preparation that had to be done from my side. So I, like many of you, I also started studying Japanese. And for the first 1 month, I was very lost. I didn't understand anything. And then I understood that if I expected somebody to come to India and study, then I would assume that they would know Tamil or like Hindi. So I understood that it was my responsibility to learn Japanese. So I enrolled myself in Japanese classes. I was taught the grammar, hiragana, katakana, and also I went in my university for around 1.5 years. I took extra Japanese classes to study. So in that way, having a prior knowledge of Japanese helped me, and it still helped me today when it comes to my job, or when it came to the process of finding my job. And also I uh, did a lot of research about Japan and culture shocks, because while we are truly similar cultures, there's so much to learn from the Japanese people and the way of life that they live. And so I did a lot of research, and I would encourage all of you to do a lot of research as well about Japan and Japanese culture, Japanese people, along with studying the Japanese language, because that is what makes our experience totally a rounded experience. Because the image I had of Japan when I came here and the actual Japan I saw was so different. I didn't expect to see a country that was so diverse and that truly cared about each citizen, and they really want people to feel comfortable. So they will help you in the best possible way for you to have the happiest life in Japan. So I did a lot of preparation, but then when I actually came to Japan, um, my life changed, and I'm so grateful that I came to Japan, and I decided that I wanted to try something different. Because when I went to Japan, people asked me, "Oh, you're going to university in Japan? Is it in Japanese?" They had so many questions. But past all of that, studying in Japan has definitely changed me. I was able to have a lot of student experiences that I might not have gotten in India. If I desired to stay in India, I could study abroad in another country for 6 months. So I could, at the same time, I was also able to practice my Japanese. I had the opportunities to get scholarships from different companies in Japan as well, and I was also able to find my interest and do activities that were helping my interest. And through that, I found a job in a Japanese company. And that job was provided to me by my university, because they wanted us to find jobs. At the same time, they wanted us to challenge ourselves. So my university had a very special program where we could take a class, a marketing class. And through that marketing class, we could if we did well in that class and if we challenged ourselves enough, we could get a job. So having those kind of new incentives for me was extremely unheard of and unknown of. And so today, after 4 years, when I work in a Japanese company, and I'm so glad and grateful that I have studied Japanese, that I devoted myself to study Japanese. I'm still improving. My Japanese is nowhere perfect. I don't think it will be for a long time, but I'm so thankful that I studied Japanese and I gave um, the chance to Japan to help me. And keeping that in mind, the last thing I want to share is that I spoke a lot about what I found in Japan and uh, my experiences in Japan, but I just want to end by saying, what can Japan give us? Because we're obviously, if we all go to Japan or study in Japan, we're looking for Japan to give us something back as well. And what Japan can give us is employability. Like Ranga-san had said that India and Indians especially, we have the great opportunity to go there to a country and work where they need us, and they need us in their workforce. And I see that every day. I am the only Indian in my whole company of 5,000-6,000 people, and I understand that if more Indians can come to Japan and get jobs and work in this market, I think it's Japan works so that it can bring more people, and so they give us a lot of benefits. So that was one. And also the standard of living here and the educational standards especially are extremely high, and we don't um, imagine Japan to be one of those countries. But Japan, I have studied in another country as well through my experience in Japan, and I can definitely say that my education in Japan was definitely very high, because Japan gives that focus on education, and they want everybody to take something back home when they go back to their respective places or their countries. And one more thing that Japan can offer us is a new culture. It's definitely a new culture that people can experience. It's very similar to us, but there's so much more to learn. And finally, you can make your own home in Japan, and Japan welcomes you. It doesn't tell you that it doesn't want you. It always welcomes you. And it's been almost 6 years, and every day I feel like Japan only has welcomed me more. So I hope you my speech was of any value, and please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Anahata-san. It was lovely listening to you, your genuine reflections on how life was, your expectations, your notions that got evolved over time. It was wonderful listening to you. Thank you so much. You truly added a lot of value to the webinar. Thank you very much. We have a
Thank you,
20-minute
Vaishnavi.
question time at the end. So if anybody has any questions, we will reserve it for that time. Thank you very much, Anahata-san. So moving on, like Anahata-san had mentioned, there are a lot of scholarships that are open to students who are willing to go to Japan and study. So next up on our line, we have Niveta Tyagarajan-san who will take us through those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Vaishnavi-san. Firstly, it was such a nice time listening to Anahata-san, because a lot of the things that I had in mind and wanted to share, she made my job easier and spoke about all those things. So let me not take too much time on my personal experiences. Just a quick introduction. My name is Niveta Tyagarajan, and I'm in Japan right now. I came here as a mixed embassy recommended scholar on the MEX scholarship in 2019. So I came here as a research student for 6 months, and then I converted it into a master's program. So I am graduating very soon. In fact, tomorrow is my graduation ceremony, and I'm very happy to share my experience and a little bit of information that I have gathered through my personal experience. So when people think about going to a foreign country for master's or a PhD program, the first barrier that most people face is the cost of education. A lot of people think about the US or the Western countries for education, but the cost is really high and they end up taking big loans. In comparison, if we look at the cost of education in Japan, so I've just shown like a ballpark figure of what the tuition fee structure is. So in Japan, we have national universities, public universities, and private universities. And the fee structure is kind of standardized throughout the country. So if you just go to the university's website, you can see prior what the exact fees that you will have to pay throughout the entire period of education. So on an average, it comes to about 10 lakh rupees for your entire master's program if you study in a national or a public university. So now that we know how much it's going to cost, if we still want to come to Japan, then comes the possibility of getting a scholarship. Before explaining the details, I think from my personal experience and in my 2 years in Japan, I have come across a lot of international students, not just Indians studying in Japan. And almost every person that I have interacted with is here on some form of scholarship. So I'm telling this to share the information that there are lots of scholarship opportunities. We just have to take a little time and research about the university, about what scholarships they offer, and try to grab the opportunity. So in general, if we look at scholarships, there are 5 types. First is the Japanese government scholarship, which is called the MEXT. There are 2 categories in MEXT. One is the embassy recommendation, where we apply to the embassy in India, and they will help us get the scholarship. And the next category is the university recommendation, where we apply to the individual universities in Japan and they help us get a scholarship. So this is offered by the Japanese government, where the tuition is waived entirely. And we also get a stipend of about 1,45,000 yen every month to support our living expenses here. And then comes the scholarships by JASO. They are a little lesser in terms of the money they provide as stipend, but a lot of students are also offered JASO scholarships. And then comes the scholarships offered by the local governments here, not just the central government, but the local prefectural governments, and also a lot of international associations that offer scholarships. Lastly, there are a lot of private foundations which also offer scholarships to international students. So quickly, if we look at the embassy recommended scholarship, this is from the website of the Japanese embassy in India. So a lot of people coming to Japan for a master's or a PhD program will apply for the research student scholarship. And this seminar is timed really well because the applications are going to open from April for the year 2023. So we are just in 2022, but the applications open now and the process is quite long. It takes about 1.5 years for you to go through it and then come to Japan in April or September of 23. So If we look at a quick timeline of the mixed embassy recommended applications, like I say, the applications are going to open very soon. And then there will be a preliminary application form that you submit. And then you will be interviewed around June, July. They will give you the results, and then you will contact different universities to get an enrollment. And finally, you'll receive your results by January next year for you to come to Japan in 2023. So the second type, which is called the mixed university recommended applicants, for them, the application process will start 1 year in advance. So if you want to come to Japan in September next year, you will have to start applying in September this year itself. So please be wary of the timeline, because that is one big issue with applying for scholarships in Japan. Lastly, for those of you in this meeting, I think you can take a screenshot of this page, because this has some of the most useful links that you can use when you start your journey towards study in Japan. Firstly, there's a study in Japan page that gives details about your all kinds of needs that you'll have when you come to Japan as a student. And JASO releases a special file every year listing out all the scholarships that are available for international students, like I mentioned earlier. So that is the second link here. And for those of you who want to apply for the mixed scholarship, please check out the Embassy of Japan website in India. That is a third link. And the last link on this page is a blog written by a private person. He specializes in dealing with mixed applications, both embassy and university recommended. So you can also check out the last link to get more information on how to prepare for this scholarship, how to prepare for the interview, how to fill out the application form. All kinds of details are available on this last link. In my journey of getting a scholarship and coming to Japan, I think the biggest difficulty that I faced was the fact that, like in the US or UK, where a lot of Indian students go to study, only now students are slowly coming to Japan. So there aren't a lot of information avenues to help students on how to go about the process or how to do a particular application to a university. And because Japanese universities are also just now starting to welcome a lot of international students, the process is very different for each university. It's not very standardized yet. So the application requirements might differ for each university. So it's better to start ahead and do a thorough research of what your interests are, which university you would like to come to, what are the requirements of that particular university, and how you can prepare yourself for that. So I think that would be my take-home message for students who want to come study in Japan. There is a long preparatory time and some effort from our side required. But once you cross that phase, your time here is going to be very blissful. I can say it from my own personal experience. My 2.5 years of student life in Japan has probably been the best time of my life so far. And I'm also happy to share that I've also got into a Japanese company. So after my graduation, I will also be working in Japan. So thank you so much to ABK for giving me this opportunity to share my experience with all of you here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nivetha-san. Your presentation was perfectly like a capsule, power-packed with all the important necessary information, truly valuable. Thank you very much. So I'm sure Nivetha-san had answered a lot of questions on cost, informations, where to look, and what are the questions that we should reach out to. So if any of you have questions, let's please park it for the Q&A session. Thank you again, Nivetha-san. So next we'll move on to a person who has spent a couple of years in Japan, but working in a Japanese company. So for the next speaker, we call upon Mahindra Varman-san to share his experiences on working in a Japanese company while knowing the language.
Hello. Hello, everyone. This is Mahindra. Thanks, Vaishnavi. I currently am working in Japanese company, but I would like to share, what brought me to learn Japanese and why I did choose, this career path. So in I would say, like Ranga-san told in the beginning, for me too, the life has changed because of Japanese, I would say. In I would just would like to recall a proverb in Japanese, like it says, "Atarashi gengo shiru wa aratana jinsei no hajimari." Like when you know a new language, it opens it's a start for you for your a new life. Like that's the starting point where you freshly start your life. So people who have already been experienced for more than 5 years or 10 years in India, and you are just coming now to learn Japanese, because I've seen people who have taken the step in my past experiences. So it's a new life for you. Even I have people who have done such biggest transformation in their career. So knowing a language, yes, it opens the door for a new opportunity. But okay, like when it comes to Japan, like how it functions. Uh, like we all discuss about the population problem, what Japan faces, and even today, like most of the country would know what is the uh, like birth rate in Japan. So let's talk about the statistics, but I would say like it's really difficult for Japan to overcome in future. Even now they are facing the issues, like how they can overcome these issues. Like in I would say in Japan, like the what do you say, the job opportunities, or when a person starts a career in Japan, when a Japanese guy who comes out of the college and he joins a company, it's like when a company offers him a job, I would always, call a very strange statement. I would say like it's commitment to their life. Like we talk about the companies will always, bring in India, like what is your expected CTC? It's a cost to the company, right? In Japan, I understood that it's a cost to their life, because the company will put forth their plan to develop that particular resource. So the way they recruit a person is like maybe he's not having any backgrounds. Say he has come out of some science background, maybe. However, they have an opening for marketing background, so they would really welcome him. They would not deny him, because he's a very fresh guy. So they will check first what is his interest. They'll put him on the grounds for at least like year or two, and they will check his interest again, and they will try to make him perfect on his job, whether he can perform, or they will give a lot of trainings, and then he will still have an option to choose whether he can continue in the same path or he has to go to some other department. The policies in companies is really really good, and they encourage the resource to grow on their own field, or they encourage them to put them in a different field also. And one more important thing which I would like to call up is Japan market. Like when it comes to these the work culture or your career, if you start, say in India we call it as a vertical growth, right? But in Japan, I have seen it's a horizontal growth. Like what does it mean is, say I'm a person who learned Java or any other software technology, for example. So then I would like to go as a developer, and I would want to go as a senior developer. I would want to do some more magic out there, and then I would like to go for a project manager, where specifically on my own technology, on my own path which I decide. So it's a vertical growth. But in Japan, like it's really different. When it comes to Japanese companies, they always focus on horizontal growth. So what they do is like they put a new resource who has come into the company in a particular team. Like say for example, he joined in a HR department. Maybe over a 5 years or 6 years of span of time, they would check his interest, and they would put him in a manufacturing domain too. There is no problem for them. Only thing is they want a person to should go there and learn and work, and the process will be in such a way that they have designed anyone can come and fit in, learn and understand and work. So just I wanted to give a very short opinion, like how the companies will grow their employees in Japan organizations. So that's the reason I told it's a cost to life. Company will never think it as a cost to company. it's like they think the person will not leave the organization until he retires. So they would plan in such a way that so every 4 years or 5 years once he should get a promotion. He should, I mean, the career path should be reassessed. So all these things are there in Japan companies. So it's very easy for any Japanese person to join a company and grow by himself, if at all he has capacity to adjust to the company's culture. Because company's culture comes to the next point. I would like to just touch base in a few minutes. So next thing is like when I came to Japan, I worked in a I worked in an Indian company which supports a lot of Japanese customers. So then I had an opportunity to work with customers very closely. I used to work in their environments and I work with their task force team. So it was very good experience for me to understand Japanese culture, uh, business culture when I came to Japan. Because when we learned Japanese, we learned their culture, we learned their food habits, we learned everything. But when I came to Japan, I still felt that, I mean, I came to Japan when I was completed my N2. So already I was working with Japanese clients for more than 10 years when I was in India. So when I came here, but still I felt it's a new ground because there are a lot of things you have to learn. Unless you come to Japan, you can't, test it. So it was very fun for me to learn those things every day. It was very energetic for me to meet Japanese customers and work with them. And the importance of Japanese language I really understood well when I joined Japanese firm here. So they like in Japan you can divide companies broadly in two categories. One is in Japanese they used to say Nikkei Kigyo and Gaishi Kigyo. Gaishi Kigyo. Okay, Nikkei Kigyo is a typical Japanese company. It's like it's founded by a Japanese and funded by a Japanese corporate, and it's completely driven in a Japanese traditional way. On the other hand, if you talk about Gaishike, so it's like a multinational company, what we can call of in India. And obviously it would be funded by another foreign companies, or it may be funded by a Japanese company, but they wanted to grow up in other regions of world. So the big difference is the level of language what they would expect when you join a company. Say for example, if you are joining a Nikkei Kigyo, obviously they would expect you should have a minimum of N2 level of Japanese. The reason is like your interaction is not only in Japanese, but also your the work which you do. Say, for example, a person who is come from the background of manufacturing industry, he's a mechanical engineering guy, and he knows how to design a parts. He's very well into R&D. But when he joins a Japanese company, it's not only the interactions he has to do. Also, if it is a Nikkei Kigyo, it's not only the interactions, also he has to undergo the process, which is all described in Japanese. So you have to read those documents, you have to understand those documents, and you have to write up your own additions to it, and you have to add the value for your job. So minimum an N2 level of Japanese is required when you go into a Nikkei Kigyo. On the other hand, if you go to Gaishike Kigyo, you have a lot of opportunities there, and it varies. The need of Japanese is really varies job to job. So an entry job would require just like N5. See, if you are very much skilled on your work, like say you are a software developer or you are a consultant of some business applications, then your most of your work will be in technical side and only interaction is required to be in Japanese. So your N4 or N3 level of Japanese will be really good. And over a period when you cross over, like say if you are supporting the business operations, you are doing a digital transformations in some companies, then you would definitely require like N2 or N1 level of Japanese, because there you are not only working as a you are not only interacting with users, also you are defining your process, you are defining your scope, everything in Japanese. So it should be in Japanese, and you have to make your user audience convince to the solution what you have given. So there the language is not just is going to be an tool for interaction, rather it's going to be a tool to sell your concept. So in that case, like, you have to learn a lot of vocabularies, and you need to know a lot of like business culture. So having N2 is a very good start for you to work in Japan if you are well experienced, and if you are going to work in a Nikkei or Gaishike. But if you are joining a Gaishike, and if you are aspiring to grow in Japan, you can start with very well in N3, and you can build up your career in Japan. And Japan needs a lot of foreigners for the matter, and we all have a lot of opportunities, like Rangasan said. India is going to be the biggest manpower partner for Japan in future, I would say. Currently, like, they are most focused on Vietnam. There are a lot of Vietnam students and Vietnam colleagues are joining in many companies. I've seen so many Vietnamese in this five-year span of work. So before that, there was very less. So in future, we would see a lot of Indians, I hope. So I would, emphasize all of you to learn Japanese and bring your, instead of focusing to US, UK, you can also focus Japan as a good market. And you have very, very different culture here, and you'll really love the job if you learn their language and culture, and you would definitely have very good friends in Japan. So congrats to you. I would say, like, congrats to those who have started your Japanese language already. And I would say all the best for people who are trying to learn Japanese and who wanted to work in Japan. So thanks for this time.
Thank you very much, Mahin-san. So Mahin-san
You.
incidentally is also my sensei. So for all those who are trying to learn the language, you need a very nice sensei, somebody who tries to, help you learn the language really quickly and easily. Thank you very much, Mahin-san. So moving on, the next person is myself. So I will start with introducing myself. My name is Vaishnavi Kumar. So I'm part of ABK for 16 years now as a student for first 4 years. And then I started on with interpretation, and I've handled a couple of profiles. So at the moment, I'm taking care of ABK OMR. So for all those who are thinking of cherry blossoms, Japan, and the amazing transport, I'm welcoming you back to India, okay, because I'm based out of India. So I'm going to be taking you through all the opportunities for people learning the language, but in India, not in Japan, okay? So yes, in a nutshell, when we hear language, we always feel that there are only two types of opportunities. You can be translators, but we already have Google. Why we need you guys? We are still very much needed. So in this 10 minutes, I will tell you what are all the different types of jobs that we are currently doing and how much of money, real good money, that we are making, so that it makes your time really worthwhile. To start off, I'll start by telling you that I'm an engineer, a very bad engineer. That's why I ended up in this line, okay? So Japanese language actually called to me. This was Talking to Japan is a contest of which many of us are alumni. It is sponsored by our ABK OTS Dosokai Tamil Nadu Center and Hiyoshi Corporation. So this particular contest actually helps us to get an awareness on ecological issues also. So when I started off in 2004, I knew no Japanese. I was just a Talking to Japan winner, and I went to the language. Like you can see by now, I love talking. So it was really bad to land into a place where you do not know the language, where you cannot speak anything majorly because you don't know the language. But then the language was very nice. It sounded easy, and the people were really nice. So coming back, I started studying the language on a free scholarship from ABK OTS Dosokai. And 4 years down the lane, the language was nice. I had a knack for it. I really liked it. I had good teachers. So fast forward, and then I started working with Japanese clients. So interpretation and translation are two avenues that could be one of your employable, arenas if you're looking at yourself as a language professional. So when I say language professional, there are two types. One, you are either a technical person. For example, you are, like Mahin-san said, you are a Java person or an SAP person. You are a technical person who also knows the language, which thereby makes you a bilingual engineer. Or you take it a step ahead and you become a trainer or a teacher. So by clearing N2 and N1. So there are two types. Either you base it on your core qualification, which could be your IT or engineering or whatever it is, and top it off with a layer of Japanese. or you keep Japanese itself as your core capability and start looking out for jobs. So these are the two avenues. And so when you say interpreter, we always get an image of people, walking behind a group of people talking in microphones. So that is just one part of the job. There are around 500 Japanese companies in Chennai alone. There are about 1,600 establishments in India. So we are spread across the states, and there are many, many companies that are based out of India. And every Japanese company has requirements for both translators and interpreters. And at the moment, not just limited to companies, the demand for the Japanese language professionals is in a much more wider arena. So there are so many movies that are getting dubbed, movies that are getting translated. So I'm sure many of you would have seen Jackie Chan movies where he falls down from third floor and then we ask, are you all right? Nalla irukingla? So there is always a problem with machine translation. So we are all very much needed. Okay. So people learning the language, I would like to remind you that there are a lot of opportunities which keep changing. Yes. So should we evolve ourselves? Yes. But are we out of jobs? No. So I'm going to show you quickly a small slide which will tell you. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, so this is just a sample of some of the interpretations done by just one person. Okay, so there are so many companies. As you can see, there are a lot of government organizations. So these organizations also have tie-ups with Japanese companies. They have associations with Japanese companies. They have projects that are going on with Japanese companies. So if you are a language professional, so you will have work with companies related to Japan, companies based out of Japan, Indian companies trying to interact with Japan, Indian companies trying to make a client base in Japan, multinational companies who have a client base in Japan who are trying to expand, because language is key. So when you know the language, your options are enormous. So from a regular person, like we are a highly populous country, and we all know from LKG that we have to be really competitive to get a good job. So this will give you the edge. This will give you the extra edge that you need to secure a good job at a very good pay grade. Okay, so when you say translation, interpretation, there are many, many options like this. I would also like to say one more extra point. So till 2015, so I started interpreting when I was from 2009-ish, but only from 2015, there was one more door that got opened for us. So when you say interpretation, I'm sure you are familiar with the term, that there are two types. One is consecutive, I speak, the person waits, and then the interpreter speaks. There is a small gap. The other one is a simultaneous interpretation, where it goes parallelly, like the United Nations meeting kind of, where there is no gap. So an interpreter listens and speaks simultaneously. So till then, so till 2015, we had not done anything like that. 2015 was my first opportunity to do a simultaneous interpretation, thanks to the Monozukuri seminar that was organized by our center, ABKOT's Tamil Nadu Center. So it was in that conference that this opportunity opened doors for us. So, and then from 2015 till date, we have done a lot of simultaneous interpretations. We have done a lot of live shows where we have done this kind of interpretation. So the one key learning that I want to share is that if you're learning the language, the natural apprehension is that I might not know the right word. It's true, you will never know the right word. Okay, welcome. So you can never be too prepared. So the only thing that we can do is to go through the website or go through the program and keep ourselves prepared and ready to handle the fire. So from 2015, when we got that opportunity, I would really say that the landscape has changed, because there are now so many things with Zoom. There's a feature in Zoom where we keep speaking and then simultaneously it gets translated. So more than ever before, I would say that now is a very, very good time for interpreters and translators, because now we are not restrained by location. We are able to do online for anybody, any client sitting at home. So I have 2 kids, so this is a very important point. So yeah, and I think that at the moment, with the entertainment industry also booming up with animes and movies and even songs. Last week, we had a student from Japan who is an Allu Arjun fan. He wanted all the lyrics translated. So these are all things that are going to keep changing and evolving. So I would say that from the moment I won the Tokyo Way to Japan, ABK OTS has changed my life, definitely for good. And the Japanese language has become my strongest secret weapon that helps me, keep moving on from profiles and portfolios to be able to work with about 100 plus companies till now. So if you are a student and you are looking at opportunities, not just in Japan, but also in India, you're looking at flexible working, you're looking at working not, for example, not for a long time, you have different constraints where you're looking at working for 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is. If this particular language is there for your advantage, you definitely have an edge over others. So that's it. Thank you very much. So we'll go on to the next speaker. So, yeah. So next person is Anurupa San, and Anurupa San will take us through the working and the experience of working in software companies. So this is different. This is a very different domain. So we request Anurupa San to share your thoughts. Thank you.
Hello, minasan. Konnichiwa. I'm Anurupa. First, thank you for having me here. I have been teaching Japanese for the past 25 years and currently taking classes for N2 to our students in ABK OTS Dosakai, Chennai. In the very beginning, I was a school teacher and I was unaware about the opportunities in Japanese language. Because of Ranga-san's encouragement, I chose to learn Japanese for better opportunities. As soon as I cleared my level 4, okay, that time it was level 4, I got a job in Ranga-san's office. This is how my career started in Japanese domain actually. After entering into this, initially I faced many challenges, but later it helped me to gain confidence in me. As you all know, see, I'm talking about the early 2000. Okay, as you all know, in the early years of 2000, there were no online translation tools to help you through your work. We had to look through dictionaries manually. Here again, I need to thank Ranga-san for filling our center's library with so many such dictionaries. You name the book, we used to get it for us. He used to immediately inform Sriram-san to get the books for us. That time Sriram-san was residing in Japan. He also so kind enough to get the books and send it across to us. I think even now this trend is continuing. So the dictionaries we mainly use that time are Nelson and Kenkyusha to search the kanji and kotoba, and it used to take a long time to translate a simple document. In my opinion, instead of using PC, it's better to learn from books and dictionaries. When you use books, we search the kanji by radicals, and it will help us to find out the meaning of the kanji. So in the office, after going to office, in the office, I was put in a project and given a chance to communicate with native Japanese. Okay. When you are put in a project, you will be engaged with so many activities. There will be everyday morning meetings where you need to converse with Japanese clients and prepare minutes, send weekly reports. If there is a client provided template to fill out the report, then okay. Otherwise, sometimes you may have to prepare the template on your own, which will take so many iterations to get it finalized by your client. During this time, you will get a chance to send mails to interact with your client directly. And everything will be in Japanese. When I recall all those days, I realize the importance of all those meetings and reports I used to prepare. If you get a chance of doing all these, your communication skill and your vocabulary will increase like anything. And this will help you to concentrate more on your Japanese skill and thus clear the levels one by one. But as you know, you cannot achieve all this without your personal time and efforts. Those are very important. So as I spoke to the clients more and more, I started learn a lot more than I could from my books. Many quirks in the language come through that are not usually explained in a textbook. Okay, one day I wanted to ask my Japanese colleague, Kobayashi-san, I think Ranga-san remembers, Kobayashi-san, whether he is free so that I can clear my doubts related to Japanese language. So that time I was doing my level 3. So I casually asked him, Kobayashi-san, hima desu ka? You know what happened? Immediately he said, Chigaimasu yo, kaisha de shigoto shiteiru kara, zettai hima janai. You know, right? Hima means free. And I assumed I could use it to ask whether he is free. But in truth, actually, hima desu ka means like "Vetiarkia," which was quite rude. When you want to get someone's time, you should request for their time as "Ojika arimasu ka," "Shitsumonga arimasu ga," "Ima daijoubu desu ka," like that, right? This type of interaction happened on several occasions, and every Japanese person I have met were more than willing to help me to understand and how to use their language. After many such embarrassments, I slowly learned how to communicate with native Japanese. Even now, I'm still learning, and I feel it will continue forever. Here, one more point I want to share with you all. The phrase about Ashta Madeni. Okay, Ashta Madeni. I hope you all know Ashta Madeni. One fine morning, my client at that time, his name is Sugimura-san, asked me a document to complete. And he clearly said that Ashta Madeni ne. So Ashta Madeni literally means by tomorrow. I thought it's a simple document and I could complete by tomorrow evening for sure. So I was so casual and I was concentrating on other job. Evening about 6 p.m. he came back to my desk and checked the status, and I didn't even start his job actually. He got angry and started shouting literally. In Japanese perception, Ashta Madini means not till Ashta EOD, end of the day. It is by today evening, which means you have to complete the work when they come back to their desk tomorrow morning. So Ashta Madini means, please remember that, not Ashta EOD Madini, Ashta no Asa Madini, right? We used to get client visits on and off in our Sofil office. We know that "Irashaimase" means welcome, right? Irashaimase. So we used to say "Irashaimase" in chorus to welcome the clients and used to feel proud as if we did a great job. Later, I understood "Irashaimase" is used in stores like departments. The actual welcoming word is "Yokoso." All this happened during the early 2000. Unlike then, most of the Kirks is available to every student online or even in textbooks provided by institutes. There are many opportunities present for the current and upcoming students. The study material available has been polished and refined to a high caliber. So there are some students who search for freelance work or other opportunities and unknowingly waste time. It is sometimes better to join a Japanese IT company if you wish to further your skills in Japanese. You might also learn about other things while you are there. Therefore, I conclude by saying that your language proficiency will not decrease when you are in an IT company, but will increase more than what you achieve by self-learning. Thank you for the time provided for me to share my experience with you all. Minasan, korekara mo gambatte kudasai. Arigatou gozaimashita.
Thank you very much, Anu-san. It was really nice listening to you. And thank you for sharing all the personal experiences and for the time before when we can search things quickly, before the instant era. So
Thank
it's
you.
unimaginable to take a book and go through it now. I think you would have used Akira Mere.
Yeah.
Akira Mere. So it was amazing to listen to you. Thank you so much, Anu-san.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. Now we have listened to a person from the software domain. Next, we will be listening to somebody from a much more difficult, much more, I don't want to say serious, but it's really difficult work in this domain because every word will make a difference. I don't want to sound dramatic when I say life or death, but really this is kind of a situation where people deal with life or death kind of situations. So we welcome Veda-san, who is working in the medical field, our alumni, to share her experiences. Veda-san, please.
Thank you so much, Vaishnavi-san, for that introduction. So I'm very happy to be here today. Mahen-san was my sensei. Anurupa-san was my sensei. So to speak right after all of them, I'm kind of nervous, but I'll try to do my best. I started studying Japanese as a hobby. I used to work for advertising agencies. So on Sundays as a hobby, I started learning Japanese. And when I was in N4, I participated in the Tokyo Way to Japan speech contest that is organized by ABK OTS Dosokai every year. Mahen-san, I don't know if you remember, but you helped me write my script and I came third. I came third in that speech contest, I think. But after that, ABK gives a fee waiver for everyone who participates and wins, even third prize in speech contest. They're all given a fee waiver for the next levels. So this is something that I think everybody should know. So after I won that third place in that speech contest when I was studying N4, N3 and N2, I practically studied for free in AOTS, and I would forever be grateful for that. And after that, AOTS also provided us with an opportunity to participate in the national level Japanese language speech contest. Thankfully, I came first that time. So then I was selected to go to South Asia Japanese language speech contest, which happened in Bangladesh that year. So sounds like blowing my own trumpet, but why I wanted to bring your attention to this is ABK not only provides language training, but also tries to develop all your other skills as well. When you're a student of ABK OTS Dosokai, unlike other Japanese schools, you have various opportunities where you can showcase not only your Japanese language skills, but also your other skills like speaking skills. And there are a lot of events that happen throughout the year where you are taught Japanese songs, various other things. So that I think also, helps in your overall personality. So that's something that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention today. And coming to my job, it's slightly different. Like Vaishnavi-san said, we literally work with life and death on an everyday basis. I work for a Japanese risk management company. We offer healthcare assistance for Japanese expats. So for Japanese nationals working outside of Japan, see, for them, if they work for an automobile industry, they will know English words related to automobile. If somebody works for an IT company, they will know words related to IT. But when it comes to health, and it's not just the Japanese, anybody who, when they are ill, they are at their lowest. And you say Japanese are very polite, very well-mannered, and they're always calm. Everything goes over the roof when they are sick. So we handle anything from a common cold to when somebody, unfortunately passes away, or they, got into a very serious condition and they'll have to be transported back to Japan. So that's the kind of job that I do every day. So I joined my company after taking the N2 exam. But even after that, I had to start from scratch to study, because medical Japanese is a completely different ballgame. And also in my company, it is like a customer vendor relationship. So we are a Nikkei Kigyo, a Japanese company born and bred in Japan, offering service to Japanese nationals. But the person who's providing the service is a foreigner. But the expectation from us is, since it is a Japanese service, the expectation that is there from us foreigners is like, hey, Nikkei service desho. At the end of the day, you are a Japanese service. So you have to give Japanese level or Japanese standard of service. So which is extremely difficult for us. And from this year, I'm involved in training my counterparts in other countries as well. And like Mahen-san mentioned, in Vietnam, all of my colleagues have N1, all of them. In my company in India, I'm the only person with N1. So the difference in the quality of service that we can provide is directly proportional to the language skill that each staff has. So for us, if there are more people who can speak Japanese in a like say N2 level or advanced level of Japanese, it will dramatically or drastically change the impression that Japanese people have of the skills of Indians. That is something that I've noted in my 7-8 years in the company. Your Japanese language speaking skill is directly proportional to how high the Japanese person will think of you. So even if your everyday job profile does not involve interaction in Japanese at all, if you make an attempt to learn the language, it will literally make you more favorable in front of your boss. So that is a tip that I would like to give you. And for medical field, there are a lot of opportunities for people who can speak Japanese. Like I said, my company has offices in Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines, etc. And there, all of the staff who are working there in my company are nurses or caregivers who have worked in Japan. So Japan has this economic partnership agreement with various Asian countries, and recently they've come into an agreement with India as well. And there's also this technical intern training program wherein they take healthcare workers, foreign healthcare workers are direly needed in Japan because, as everybody knows, Japan is an aging population, and a lot of caregivers and nurses are required to take care of the aging population. And Japan is looking towards friendly countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines, and now even India to satisfy that need, to bridge that gap. So if you know the Japanese language, it will help you tremendously in getting into these programs. And once you finish the program in Japan, after you come back to India, you have a whole lot of opportunity. You will know that there are a lot more opportunities that have opened up because you know the Japanese language. So over and above your professional skill, Japanese language by itself is a special skill, is a professional skill in itself that will open a lot of opportunities for you. That is my takeaway from my experience in working with the Japanese risk management company. So, and I'm always asking Vaishnavi-san, do you have anybody with N3 and good speaking skills? We have an opening in my company. We have an opening in my company. I almost do that like every 6 months because we are hiring. And by hiring, one thing that I've noticed is a lot of people start studying Japanese as a magic solution for finding a job. But what happens is after they get into a job, that magic, that spark is lost. They do not try to improve their skills. So when they start, when they get into a job, if they are here, even after 10 years, they are still here, or maybe they'll be here. So unless you take the efforts to learn, of course, the environment will be conducive for learning. There will be people who will be able to teach you, but you have to take that first step and you have to ask the questions. You have to be willing to learn. So that is something that I find lacking in a lot of Japanese language learners today. So for people who are aspiring to learn Japanese, for people who are learning Japanese, I would say, please learn for the love of learning. Opportunities will follow. If you learn to get a job, and once you get a job, if your learning stops, then your growth, either vertical or horizontal, will stop. So if you want to go to the next level, you should be able to put in efforts to study Japanese continuously. The environment in your offices will be conducive to learning. So make use of that opportunity. Like Mahen-san said, like Anu-san said, the learning that you will get from practical application is 100 times more than textbook learning. But make sure you make full use of the environment and the opportunities available for you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Veda-san. It was great listening to you and really well said. So people who are all listening, all the learners, people who are learning for N3, N2, so yes, it will get you a job, but for you to become good at it, for you to become better at it, for you to take the ladder to the top place in the career and be a better management person, your continuous learning is a very, very vital point. So thank you very much for bringing that up, Veda-san. So thank you. So with this, we come to the end of our speaker sessions. We have 20 minutes time for questions. So if anybody has questions, you can ask us. We have a comment, Veda-san, really very, very true, Veda-san, and unless we cannot develop the language skill, and it cannot be done without the self-effort. So thank you very much. Mukundan-san, yes, sir.
Mukundan, you want to ask a question?
You are on mute, Mukundan-san.
Unmute.
I just want, it's not a question really, Vaishnavi, Rangasan. I think it is an excellent program to completely, unveil the truth of how Japanese language, how Japanese culture helps in developing one's own career, from a different perspective. Anahata talked about, how she started her education and then moved on to a job. And then Mahendra Varman's, presentation, Anurupa San's, I think a different perspective I could understand. See, I am associated with ABK OTS for almost more than 25 years. But Rangasan used to ask me, hey, why didn't you learn Japanese? Well, I think not that I didn't want to learn, but I'm a lazy guy in learning Japanese. But now at this age of 74, 75, I feel like learning now. After, listening to each one of you, I just feel that I missed the bus, but I don't know I am late or not. But I just want to compliment this program in terms of reaching to the young people as to how they should study, and then they can develop their career. I mean, this is what I wanted to say. Hats off to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback, Mukundan-san. Thank you very much. Nanda-san, yes.
Yeah, I will need some help from Veda sometime next week, because there's a very leading hospital which is now moving into creating their own university for training the nurses and health workers. They would like to get into that area. So they want us to take care of their Japanese language education for all their people. It's a very big group. So maybe, that time I'll still talk to you. I'm going to meet them for the first time next week. Then where to go about, how to go about. Those are the things I need, Veda, from you to know about it. So this will be a great help. Secondly, for everyone, I say in ABK ODS Dosokai, we have created, as a matter of fact, after 3 years, just for information, after 3 years, 2.5 years of COVID, everything, we have not been doing anything. Only now we are opening up. And then yesterday we changed all the air conditioners so that this summer we always make sure now people sit comfortably and then learn. And today, God's grace, with everyone's effort and cooperation, we have been doing all right. And maybe we should take the credit, not our current teachers team and Anuradha. We were the first one to react to COVID, to immediately switching over to online. Compared to other schools, we were a little more ahead. Like what Imai Sensei's joke, like the professor and the two American and the Japanese. The Japanese wore the shoe and the lion was chasing to run faster than. So you need to run faster if you want to win. So we are always making the effort to run faster. And of course, the students, today all the facilities are available. You only will have to make use of it. People have changed their lives. They change others' lives too. And we want you to change your own life by studying Japanese. Where you study doesn't matter. If you come to us, facilities are available. That's all I would like to say.
Thank you very much, Ranga-san. So any other comments, feedback, questions? We have 5 more minutes. Yes, Kavin, is it? Yes.
Hi, Sensei. Thank you for the opportunity, and it was a wonderful session. So myself, Kavin, I completed N2 and currently a first year medical student. So I'd like to ask, what are the job opportunities as a doctor for, not generally as a doctor, but those who are practicing already in the medical field in Japan or any other kind of jobs in the upcoming years?
Veda-san, do you want to take this?
I'm not really sure about opportunities in Japan. One thing I can tell you is there are a lot of Nikkei clinics. Clinics run by Indian doctors for Japanese people. You can check out Keyaki Family Clinic, and there is one Healing Ray Clinic. All these clinics are in Gurgaon. And there was one more clinic which was supposed to be opened in Chennai in 2020, Himawari Clinic, but that is not opened yet because of COVID. So these clinics for Japanese people run by Indians are also, how do to put it in a very blunt way, very mind-flourishing business. So if you would like to open a clinic with your Japanese language skills as a doctor who can speak Japanese, opening a clinic where a lot of Japanese people can come directly without the help of an interpreter. So that is something that you can explore. To put it in perspective, these Japanese clinics in Delhi take about 8,000 rupees as consultation fee for any simple internal medicine consultation as well. So Japanese clinics is something that you can explore, because Japanese speaking doctor, I think you're a very rare commodity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Veda-san.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Veda-san. Thank you, Kavin, for the question. So we have one more question in chat. So opportunities regarding education, communication, regarding healthcare. So Rajashri, so is this question right? So are you looking for healthcare related opportunities? Are you looking for information on that?
Yes.
Yes. So healthcare as in nursing?
No. Counseling. So if I get students.
Sorry, we can't hear you. Can you?
Yes, in
Can you come again,
psychological counseling. Psychological counseling.
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 What's your basic profession? Your
I have a pre-doctoral in social work. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Yes, but with a lot of noise.
Yeah.
I have a pre-doctoral degree in social work.
social work, pre-doc social work. Veda, maybe you should take it up also.
Like I said, care workers in Japan are very much in demand. So I'm not very sure if your degree is related to care work, care work like taking care of elderly and working in care homes. But as someone with a professional degree in social work, I think maybe you will have opportunities related to care workers in Japan. If that is something you can explore. I'm sorry, I'm not able to give you a more accurate answer, but I think you can explore opportunities with relations to care workers in Japan.
Okay, thank you, Veda-san. Thank you for the question. So next question we have for Niveta-san. Niveta-san, you can take a look at the chat box. So he's asking, the sequence, whether the scholarship comes first or the application part. Is that right, Gopinath-san?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so answering to your question, in Japan, especially the MEX scholarship process starts very much early. So like I mentioned, it starts almost a year and a half before you actually come to Japan. So the first step would be to start applying for these scholarships. MEX would be the very first one that starts its applications. And then depending on the result of such scholarship applications, you can then decide to apply for other scholarships offered by universities, which then start at a later date. So the first step would be to decide on what you want to do in Japan, which universities are in your wish list, and if there are courses in those universities that you are interested in, if there are professors there who are willing to take you, and then you start with the scholarship process and continue from there.
Thank you, Niveta-san. So, Gopinath-san, hope your question was answered. Anahata-san or Mahen-san, can both of you check the next question and see?
Yeah. It's a question from Sukumar, right? Like
Yes.
the source of information of job. Maybe, see, there are a lot of sites available. You can if you want the sites to be in English, you wanted to search jobs very comfortably, maybe you can check for the careercross.com, which offers a lot of openings in Japan. It shows a lot of job postings in Japan, and you have something called Daijob, okay, DAIJOB, like you say Daijob, daijob.com, where you can find a lot of postings from companies here in Japan. And finally, the famous one is Glassdoor. That is the site available across all the countries. I hope, like even they also they have a tie with Career Cross. If I'm not sure, if I'm wrong, if I'm correct, like they have postings similar to Career Cross in Glassdoor. And as you all know, like LinkedIn is a very good platform where you can still find out, get in touch with many people who post job opportunities in Japan. Yeah, these are the best place to check it. And yeah,
I think the next question also can use the same answer.
yeah, opportunities available as a fresher in engineering. Okay, see, if you are a fresher in engineering and you wanted to work in Japan, I would say like instead of checking in directly the job postings, better, like many companies who post jobs in this career cross or Glassdoor, the job, like they would look for sponsors, like very few jobs where they will sponsor you and give you visas and take you for a job. I would suggest in such case, if you are a fresher and you want to work in Japan, the best, there is one formula which is grown up in past 5 years. I was really amazed with that formula. Like people will apply for Japanese school in Japan. Like there are Japanese institutes at Japan where they will teach Japanese for foreigners. Maybe initially you gotta invest some money, like they will charge for you like 6 months course or something. They will provide you good accommodation, and they will help you out for all the visa process. You can come here in Japan, you can start learning. I mean, if you are already completed N2 for say, like you can also go for the business language course again. So these Japanese schools are a very good opening for you to, as a fresher, to come to Japan, learn Japanese at the side by side. You can you have opportunity to work as a part-timer. You do that, and also you search. They will also help you to search job opportunities in Japan. So what would happen is, like, you will have a visa with the status of education, but it's not a visa where you can work, but still you can do a part-time job, and that will open door for you to go to many companies. But you can consider that as an investment, because if you get a job where direct sponsorship is available, it's well and good, and but I would say it's very rare. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mahin-san. So we have a question from Prachi Agarwal next. I will take this question. So as a language teacher, N3 is the minimum requirement for many companies which are looking for language professionals. So Prachi-san, while you can try and apply, we would recommend you to continue learning and clear N3 minimum. Sveta-san was now talking about N1, okay? So we are 2 levels behind. So we would recommend you to definitely complete at least N3 so that you have a good shot at the language and the job market.
Vaishnavi-san, I would like to add here.
Yes.
Not N3 border pass, but N3 with knowing everything that is required for someone who, you should have the skills that is expected of someone who has N3. If you go to the JLPT website, it lists a number of skills that you're required to have, that you're supposed to have with an N3 certification. So ensure that you have all those skills, not just the certificate, but ensure that your language skills are up to the mark of N3. Thank you.
Thank you, Veda-san. So
I just want to add.
Yes, Ranga-san.
See, we have been having some companies coming to ABK, but every year as they come, I also find their requirements are going up. So at one point of time, N4 was okay, or N3, then they say N2. Even if you have an N3, if you cannot converse, your N3 is of no use to anybody, including yourself. Yes. Absolutely good conversation capability as good, because you're not going to write everything and show it to somebody else. You need to converse. So kindly make sure N3 doesn't matter. Please don't get carried away with the JLPT alone in your mind. Okay, today companies, they have raised their bar. Every time it is like a high jump. You clear something, then they'll put another 1 more inch up. Like that, now it has come to N2 level. N3 may not be sufficient. So if you want to go with N3, very good conversation with N3, then maybe it's good.
Yes, yes. That's exactly what I wanted to say. Thank you, Ranga-san.
Yes, yes.
So N3, so I'm sure this is what Veda-san also wanted to say. When you say N3, you should be able to talk to a level that is expected of an N3. When you go into a meeting, you should be able to talk to them. You should be able to interpret if required. You should be able to read basic Gijinoka. So you should be able to do some basic items that is recommended or at least expected from the N3 level candidate. Okay, so thank you. So we'll go on to the next question. Next question is a general question. So if you want to, so Steji Krishnan, so if you're asking if your experience can, same way carried forward to Japan along with the Japanese, is that what you're asking? Are you asking, will it count? Hello, Steji Krishnan, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So what? So are you? Yeah.
Can engineer background can be shifted into IT while going to Japan after going to Japan?
Okay.
So your question is like you wanted to count on your engineering experience into IT.
I think he means engineering in non-IT specialization, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So someone who has an engineering degree without an IT specialization, but with experience in India, wanting to shift to IT field in Japan directly. Is that your question?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, if I take your question in that way, like, yes, you have a good opportunity. There is a possibility to shift in IT. See, now the world is moving towards, you might know in manufacturing industries or any industries go with the engineering background, you would depend on a system called ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. Okay, so there is a big opening on that field, like where if you are an engineering background, you have an engineering background, you fall to some other process. For example, either you talk about manufacturing, or you are working as a sales engineering. Like there is something called where you in manufacturing industries, though you work in a sales, it's more of engineering background. So such things like such experience would definitely count on in IT if you come as a ERP consultant. Say you can start learning SAP or MS Dynamics. Those kind of applications would be a good start for you, where you can put on your experience which you gained in the engineering field. You can design the process in those core ERP softwares, and with the Japanese, you will be a successful consultant in Japan. So Japan has a very good market for ERP consultants as a fresher. I mean, they will take you into support projects, and there are a lot of needs here in support projects. But only thing is, yes, you have to find out such kind of job. It's very tricky, but yes, you have an opportunity, provided that, as I told, like your experience in engineering should count on as a consulting job in the particular ERP or somewhere, and you should have a good Japanese, like at least like we said, entry is not a scale, but still you need to have a good conversation skill in order to sell your concept in the design what you are trying to make of. That's a good opportunity if I could advise you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Mahen San. So next question, Praveen San. Praveen San, for your question, see, there are different courses available with the occasional school, and you can top it off with your degree and your area of expertise. So we would like you to go back and check. And once you have a little bit more data, you might have a concrete question on what exactly that you're looking for. So we have 1 more minute, and next question. Okay, Lata San. We conduct interpreter workshops at ABKOTS Tamil Nadu Center. You can look out for regular information. So these workshops will give you an idea of what is expected on the ground, because when you are an interpreter, it is the day. Every day is the D day. So there is no training. You cannot go in, slowly warm up and get to action. So there are courses, there are workshops that we conduct that will help you up your game or scale up so that you can become an interpreter. But qualification, good language skills, quick thinking, and good language skills both ways, okay, both Japanese and English. And then the other things we can practice, and of course you need somebody to give you that opportunity, so we can work out into that. So you can contact us for more details there. So the next question
for
Supravina-san. Yes, Ranga-san.
No, I just want to add only one thing. If you want to be a good interpreter, also be a good teacher.
Yes.
That's key to learn every day, and then it helps you to be.
Absolutely. So absolutely, Ranga-san, totally agree with you. So I think my teaching has contributed directly to the patience and learning level as an interpreter. So to be a good interpreter, you definitely should be able to teach well as well. Thank you.
Yeah,
and Supravina-san, actually, there are a lot of Japanese insurance companies which have offices in India. I mean, they have a joint partnership with Indian companies. Like there is Cholamandalam MS. MS stands for Mitsui Sumitomo, which is a Japanese company. And then there is IFCO Tokyo. The Tokyo there stands for Tokyo Marine, which is a Japanese insurance company. And then there is Universal Sompo, which Sompo stands for Sompo Japan, which is a Japanese insurance company. So a lot of Japanese expats are working in these Japanese insurance company, even in Chennai. So if you have, like even my company has an insurance broker wing, we are looking for people with Japanese skill and with insurance brokering or insurance corporate sales experience for Chennai. Unfortunately, we just closed the opening. Otherwise, I would have asked you to apply. But there are opportunities for people in insurance and mutual fund field. And for marketing, I'm not very sure, but I think if you know the language and if you have a marketing degree and some marketing experience, you can definitely look to apply for marketing jobs in Japanese companies as well.
And to add on to both Supravina San and Nilashri San, there are companies in India which are working with insurance companies in Japan and also in various capacities. For example, there is AIG, there is Fujikasai, there is AIU. So all these companies are multinational companies with their bases in Japan. So these people are also looking at people with Japanese capabilities to work in their offices here to coordinate and communicate with people in Japan.
Yes,
so
yes.
this
So,
kind of opportunities
someone,
also.
sorry,
Yeah,
just
please.
what Vaishnavi-san said, somebody with, a domain knowledge plus Japanese language will be an asset for any Japanese company that is, trying to create a mark in India or in any other foreign country. So if you have, like I said, any specialization, any domain, if you have Japanese language skills also, you will be an asset to any Japanese companies that you.
Nilashri San, so while Mahin San answered one part of your question, the one more point that I would like to add to is there are a lot of airline companies that are now working with companies here, which have positions in both locations, India and Japan. For example, JAL, ANA, NCA, Nippon Cargo. So all these companies are working with Indian companies. So you can take a look at those companies for opportunities. Both gates, there will be opportunities from your side. Okay, yes. So we are almost out of time. So I'm going to close this Q&A session. Thank you very much for all the questions. If any of you have any more questions, please drop an email to us, ABKOTS, and we will try our best to get back to you. So before we close this, I would like to call upon Sundaram San to deliver the vote of thanks. Sundaram San, please.
Yeah, thank you, Vaishnavi San. I'm audible?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Okay. So at the outset, I'll thank the organizers, Ranga San and others, for allowing me to propose this vote of thanks on this free online webinar, Importance of Japanese Language Education, which is the need of the hour, both for Japan and India. This has been supported by the Japan Foundation and it has been organized by our ABK AOTS Dosakai Tamil Nadu Center. Thank you, Ranga-san, for kickstarting this webinar with your rich experience and how you have brought this Japanese language center to be a very big empire, like a huge banyan tree, right from 1969, and then you founded in 1974 the ABK AOTS, which is Tosakai, which is about more than 48 years old now. And you have also stressed the importance of how the skill and the language and also the huge number of opportunities are there for all the Indians to learn and work in Japan. Let me thank the participants. Anahata Harikumar San, who are the guest speakers on today's sessions. Anahata Harikumar San, who spoke about the advantages and experiences to the education in Japan. Next is Niveda Tyagarajan San, for the availabilities of various scholarships to do higher education to study in Japan. Next, Mr. Makendra Varman San, who spoke about very clearly brought about the advantages of the Japanese language for the people working in Japanese companies. Vaishnavi Kumar San for explaining in detail about the various opportunities of having learned the Japanese language to become a Japanese language interpreter and translator. Anurupa San for the experiences working in software companies which was connected with the Japanese language. And Veda Narayanaswamy San for the experiences of Japanese language in working in a very delicate and tough field like the medical field. So I thank all the participants. I think it is more than about 70 participants who have joined this webinar to get fruitful information of how important is the Japanese language and how it creates various opportunities both in India and in Japan in various fields. So, and I think it will be relayed in the YouTube also to be placed, and hope more and more people get use of this information and the opportunities that are being provided by our APK Sakai Center, Tamil Nadu Center, to learn the Japanese language at our center, and also to create more opportunities for getting either your job opportunities in Japan or any other good opportunities in India, and also to study in Japan. Thank you. It was a really fruitful session. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sundram-san. Our email ID abkods@gmail.com is there in the comment box. For any clarifications or questions, you can get in touch with us. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.